All right, good morning, guys. Melissa here. What do we do? I guess I'll do a video. There's always so much going on in my life. What do we do with a life transition? I had talked to some people in New Hampshire, and she's like, oh, you're figuring out your life, right? Not just a job. I'm like, exactly. I said, I have, this going on in my life. There's a big move here. I have a couple weeks here. I'm trying to figure out whether to stay in Colorado, go to New Hampshire, what I want to do and work, right? So she said, well, figure out, that first, and then give me a call. So I do have work in New Hampshire. I had to call yesterday about a job I already had. And, they're like, oh, the paperwork didn't come through yet with HR. You will get a job offer if they continue to hire you. And I'm thinking, great. Jobs are tough, guys. And then I had another job set up, and they're like, yeah, we'll call you today. And I'm like, please do, because I have a deadline. Called a job here in Colorado. You guys were supposed to get back to me. Think we got busy over the weekend. We'll get back to you, but please, if we hire you, we hire you. But if not, don't let the job stop you from doing life. And I'm thinking I never do. I never let a job get in the way of my life. So to me, guys, a job is just a job, right? And somebody taught me this. I was at a job and I'm like, what the heck? You're basically letting me go over nothing, right? What the heck? And he was like, it's just a job, and I'm like, it's more than a job. It's like, I have a payment to make on a house. I have to pay my car. I have to do this and I have to do that. But honestly, guys, a job is just a job. So there's lots of ways to make money, right? And I think that was the point. There's tons of jobs out there. You can always grab a job, which I do. So what's more important is your family, your relationships, your time. You can't get that back, right? You can never get that back. So anyways, I was talking to my previous job here, and I said, look, I need my check. This is the 72-hour, law. And they're like, look, we already answered your questions. We're not going to go back and forth. And I said something like, and I've never really had to go this far with a company before, but I'm like, look, you did not go back and forth numerous times here. I had one response about this. It was never addressed. My coming back and saying, you're actually incorrect about this situation here, or this, law. And we follow law, not your preference, right? Because they were getting nasty, and I'm like, there's no reason to get nasty here. So I had another email that, I said, look, you are hurting yourselves when you can't be nice to your employees. And that's true, guys, because those employees that used to work for your company, they go out and tell their friends, look at what this company is like, look at them. Word of mouth is the biggest way your company gets wrecked, right? Or recommended, either one. So I'm like, look, I've already talked to others, and we're not going to go back and forth anymore with this shutdown style conversation. I said the reason why I quit is because of your lack of policies and processes, basically. You don't get your ducks in order, basically. You don't get your crap together. So, when other companies, you go to other companies, you tell them what happened at your job, and they're like, yep, we've heard about that company, then okay, yeah, this is what's going on. So jobs have a place, guys, but I used to think, oh, a job would validate me, right? Jobs do not validate you. And usually the bigger the company, the way any process they do have, it's usually a top-heavy process, and it's usually a micromanagement process. So you need to be able, for the most part, the way I'm feeling is, you kind of want to stay at the bottom, because you just want the money, right? You're not there for You're not there for, you're there for work, is what you're there for. And so a lot of people do have easy jobs and they make a lot of money. And then you have jobs that require pretty much your whole life from you, and you're not going to get paid what you deserve. And as I just said, I mean, I had a job 95 hours, and I talked to them and I said, look, you took a very heavy wage tax withholding from me. And this was not a spiff, this was a bonus. And then I'm blamed. Look at what you signed. Well, I didn't sign for a particular situation where I'm told here's an incentive if you sell another car for it to be put under a spiff with a paycheck. I never knew this, but the way people put your sales in, because obviously I haven't been selling cars, it matters, guys. It matters. It doesn't matter always federally what you're taxed on, but how that check is presented and how much is taken out can really hurt you. So I'm like, look, you took out, $833. That's a pretty big amount. Did you take out the bonus again? And so now I have to take the time now to do my research and figure out, wait a minute, let me look at this stuff. Is this really the way it works, with the sales? Is this really, there's so many different things with income tax that people can put things in certain ways if you're not aware that you're getting hit hard. So I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me. I also had a trade where I had talked to somebody else. I traded 2 cars, and then I sold a car in the same transaction, and they're like, yeah, you're only getting like, a mini for it, like 300. I'm like, those deals, those trades were very good cars. What are you talking about? Didn't you know this? Blame you. Didn't you know this from working before? No, I've never done sales. So when I talk to someone else, they're like, no, you should be getting, this much for this car, this much for this car, and this much for a new one. So it's a world that I need to research a little bit more, because when the math doesn't math, right? It just doesn't. 95 hours, you're getting $617. Where's the problem, right? Where's the math isn't mathing problem? And you're selling cars, and I did about close to 10 when I was there. And then I hear, no, you're not getting paid for the car you worked on. Well, why not? Why do I not get paid for that? Where is your policy on that one? So jobs are tough, guys. They are, if you're going to have a company and you're going to work for people, I'm very particular about jobs, very particular. There needs to be jobs with, we need to change the job economy. We really do, where people are getting paid, more money, where people are, there's policies in place, there's good companies to get into. And I've worked a lot of jobs, and I have not seen, as of yet, a lot of good policies in companies. So I just feel like the job market is broken. And I mean, I could go to McDonald's and make more money, which I have worked at McDonald's, than in a billionaire dollar company. And that definitely doesn't make sense, right? So don't put up with the bull. Don't put up with, you gotta get thrown to the wolves and learn. Well, yeah, I do, but some training is kind of nice too. So I've done well over there with really no training, and the whole place is changing. There's really not a lot of processes that should be there. There's a lot of changes there. So don't let the company blame you. Stand your ground. And I usually don't have to go this far. Usually relationships I try to work at more, but with a job I'm like, we're done this conversation. When it comes to business, I am very hard-nosed, and I don't have a problem, speaking my mind when it comes to business.